afternoon. My name is Rebecca.
And my name is Kristen.
And welcome to Evergreen News. The first couple of stories today have to do with environmental science.
And not only that, but I will be sharing some stories, some old and new, that still affect our LGBT community today.
I guess I'll dive right in. Our first story today is chimps stuck in labs after being promised retirement. Chimps are stuck in labs after being promised retirement. The laboratories are showing resistance, resilience, and they're stalling. The owner, Chris Abbey, would like to keep the 150 chimps he already has, stating that it is healthy and safe for the chimps, but some of the chimps are afraid of grass when they have been in the labs for so long. There's only one sanctuary for chimps that is legalized where they can go after they do retire, and that is the Chimp Haven in Louisiana, which has a contract with the government to take these NIH-owned chimps. But as I said, they're stalling. They say that critical research may require these chimps in the near future, even though the technological advances that we have made deem that they are unnecessary. The selection of the ones to retire and the ones who will stay sometimes take several years to even go through, and most of the chimps will die of HIV and hepatitis by then. And since June 2013, only 6 chimps have retired. And these chimps are Gigi, who's 52, Polly, who's 51, Jimp, who is 45, Bruce, who's 40, Caesar, who's 27, and Roxanne, who's 24. Now, not all of the news today is sad. Actually, there's quite some happiness going on for the manatees right now. The manatee population has finally risen from endangered species to threatened for the first time since 1967.
Oh, wow, that's great.
These animals only surface every 4 minutes to breathe, so it's very hard to get an exact number, but there are a lot of them. These animals were actually often killed in collisions with boats, and we're one of the first animals on the endangered species list, and now they're coming off. This change, however, won't offset the regulations in place. They will still be enforced to their full potential. Some people believe that the transfer of status would make it unnecessary to add any more regulation and the population would go right back to where they started, but supposedly they are under protection just because they're on the federal list, no matter what the classification is of them. But people think it could still cause some implications in future research and funding. There's two very different views on the status change. People believe the Wildlife Conservation Commission, or the WCC, is either doing too much or too little to help the manatees. And many of the manatees have died off again, causing this big crease in beliefs, and they've died off from tide, algal blooms, and the cold weather that we've experienced in the recent years. And many people are very concerned with what this could mean for the future of these manatees. Extreme measures to protect these creatures cannot and have not ever been able to be taken because they would upset the landowners who live on lands close to the water. The manatees would come to visit them, but these people would have to move if these extreme measures were taken. Christine Martin, a South Florida attorney for the Legal Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that supports limited government and balanced approach to the environmental protection, says that the government drags its feet when it comes to reclassifying or downlisting or taking off the list altogether. But when confronted with this, the government simply states that slashed budgets and more pressing priorities is causing the slowness. But the government didn't accomplish the list of items that needed to be accomplished for the changing of the status. And when they were asked whether the present risks or threats are controlled and are they controlled for the future, they said that the answer is no today and much worse for the future. There is no more information currently available at the moment, but when there is, I will definitely keep you informed on that.
Well, I guess that is okay news, but hopefully, I'm sure the manatee is very important to the people of Florida, and hopefully they don't come back onto the endangered species list.
1967, that's
Yeah, wow, that
long
is
time
a long
ago.
time, yeah.
The last topic today for me is the fight against animal cruelty. Lately, many states have been strengthening their laws and regulations on animal testing and cruelty, especially in Pennsylvania, Idaho, and New Jersey. In Pennsylvania, a bill was introduced by Senator Richard Alloway that would ban the possession of exotic animals, such as bears, coyotes, gray and red wolves, bobcats, lions, tigers, and jaguars,
Bears,
etc.
oh my!
And also, Representative Dom Costa also introduced a bill that was meant to punish animal abusers with stronger convictions and consequences. And he also wants to raise the consequence to a misdemeanor of the 3rd degree and raise the punishment every time the act is committed. Now, according to Nancy Gardner of the board of the Cumberland Valley Animal Shelter, the criminals who received this misdemeanor would then be watched by the judicial system, and each time after the first, they would receive a felony. For now, however, the animal abusers get a summary offense, which is often given to offenses of the Motor Vehicle Code. After someone's kennel license is revoked, no immediate family can receive one for the same location. And also, they want to amend the Puppy Lemon Law, which helps owners of dogs purchased diseased or injured, so that the bill is not so much that low-income families cannot afford it. In New Jersey, no longer will anyone be able to still legally work with animals after committing a crime against them. This is the Moose Law. A convicted abuser cannot own a domestic animal of any kind for at least 2 years after a conviction or the date of release from prison, whichever comes later. And the court can change this to be later if they feel the need to. Assemblyman Troy Singleton, who is trying to pass the Moose Law, believes someone who abuses an animal should never be able to own an animal again. The governor also just signed a new bill stating that sick pets from puppy and kitten mills will no longer be allowed to be sold in New Jersey pet stores. The animals that are sold in New Jersey pet stores are also now protected by the Pet Purchase Protection Act. This states that they must list the names and addresses of the breeders for each pet for sale. The pet shops must also post the U.S. Agricultural Department inspection reports prior to 2 years for breeders who sold pets to the shop. They can't sell animals from breeders or brokers who are unlicensed or non-compliant with animal welfare laws. And pet shops that do not comply will face a $500 fine. Lastly, in Idaho, Representative Hy Klock wants to pass a bill that would sponsor a new license plate. This new license plate would help fund the spay and neuter costs and would also go towards highway maintenance. Also, a new Idaho Humane Society is being planned to open in the spring of 2017 with a much larger hospital. A boys receptionist wants to pass a bill so that police officers need training to learn how to handle encounters with dogs. And lastly, after 3 animal cruelties, you will receive a felony and get 15 years in prison. So it is a big year for the fight for animals.
I'd say, Idaho, wow. That is a serious crackdown on animal cruelty laws,
Yeah.
and I think we'll be seeing a brighter future for animals.
We also seem to be seeing a slightly better future for some of your stories today.
Right. Thank you for that, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
I will be starting off with a quite recent tragedy that shook the lives of many people. Just last month, the death of transgender teen Leila Alcorn took place. Just before 2:30 a.m., Leila Alcorn walked 4 miles from her house where she lived to Interstate 71, where she walked onto the highway and was hit and killed by an oncoming tractor-trailer truck. Leila scheduled her suicide note to be posted on Tumblr.com at 5:30 p.m. the night of her death. In Leela's note, she talks about how hard her life was and how she was not supported by her parents who did not agree with her being transgender. Leela said growing up was hard because she was confused about who she was, and when she was 14, she found out what being transgender meant and she cried of happiness, which was stated in her note. The morning after her death, her mother posted on Facebook stating that her son was taking a morning walk and was hit and killed by an oncoming truck. Not mentioning the death was a suicide and misgendering her daughter. Only 2 days later, that Tuesday, Leela's story was heard worldwide, becoming a topic that everyone was talking about. My death needs to mean something, her note read, and already her death does mean something. Her story hit the LGBT community hard, and we are all thinking about Leela and ways that we can help transgenders and everyone in the community. Staying on the topic of LGBT youth, 2 years ago, in 2013, something incredible happened in Colorado that hopefully happens in more states soon. Transgender first grader Coy Matisse wins the right to use a girl's bathroom at school. Coy's parents received a phone call from her school, Eagleside Elementary, saying that she would no longer be able to use the girls' restroom. They gave her the offer of being able to use the gender-neutral faculty restrooms, the nurse's bathroom, or the boys' bathroom, but she could not use the girls' restroom. Some say denying Coy the right to use the girls' restroom created an environment that was discriminatory and hostile. Coy's parents took her case to commission, and she was homeschooled during the case but went back after it was accepted. Coy's case was the first kind of ruling in the country regarding transgender rights. The Colorado Division of Civil Rights has been the only tribunal to treat transgender students equally. I think Coy's story is a very interesting one, and I really hope to be seeing that in other states soon. I think that's awesome that happens.
It's very big change.
Did you know that Alabama has the lowest level of same-sex marriage support than any other state?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes! 32% favors it and 33% oppose it. But earlier this week, Alabama legalized gay marriage. Both sides of the argument have been rejected by federal courts in the past several times. But on Thursday, a judge in Alabama ruled that local probate judges cannot refuse to issue same-sex marriage licenses. Although it is still not popular within the state, it is definitely good news to us, and I'm sure to those in Alabama who are waiting to be married.
That is amazing. That is a big change.
I know. I am ecstatic to hear about it. I mean, all of these stories, and especially not Leela's, which is very, very sad. But I mean,
a lot of states now, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. I mean, huge jump in Alabama, and for Coy, the little girl, even though it was a few years ago, transgender rights, LGBT rights are still a major issue, and to hear about these kind of things definitely make our day worthwhile. And exactly presenting news to all of you. That is all we have for today. Be sure to tune into 6 for the weather.
And at 7 for the latest in sports.
See you tomorrow. Hi, Mrs. Hensel. I think the LGBT community does not get enough support. It is so sad when I hear stories about the LGBT community and how some are not supported and they feel alone. It blows my mind that someone can have a child and not love and support them unconditionally. People are not asked to be put here on earth. We're just kind of thrown here and asked to survive. I think if you're going to have a child and are not ready to raise a child who is lesbian, gay, straight, bi, or transgender, then you shouldn't have children. To be a parent and to be the cause of your child's death because you cannot support them for who they are is absolutely insane. And it is incredibly heartbreaking to hear such a sad story like Leela's. Hopefully the LGBT community can one day have the support and love from everyone. Bye!
Hi, Mrs. Hensel. These chimpanzees deserve the freedom of retirement. If all was right with the world, they wouldn't be in these testing facilities in the first place. But since this is all we can give them in return for their service, they deserve to be free and happy, but all we seem to be doing is giving them more pain. We infected these chimps with HIV and hepatitis, so why are we denying them the right to live out the end of their days happily? They're already dying from a disease we claim was necessary for research, even though the technological advances of the last decade have pretty much rendered them completely unnecessary. These animals do not deserve this treatment. There are plenty of other ways to go about this research. If we were testing humans, this facility would not have lasted, but with animals, it's completely fine. This is inhumane to be participating in, and if anything, they should be released to be let retire in the happiness of Chimp Haven, instead of dying in a testing cell waiting for the day of the release that will never come to them. Bye!